Hi, I'm Kristen Anderson. I'm the branch manager of the Ashland branch of Jackson County Library Services. My pronouns are she, her, and I am doing our April edition of Read This. And today I'm going to try something a little different, and we're not entirely sure how it's going to go. So full disclosure, but we're going to talk about book covers. And I think one of the entry points to talking about this is like we all have certain book covers that we recognize. A lot of them are from like those big class sets of books that are kind of ubiquitous at the high school level. So To Kill a Mockingbird, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. There's a couple of iconic covers for The Catcher in the Rye. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We're going to flash those covers up here so you can see them, but you probably have an image in your head of what those covers look like because you've seen them so many times and they're kind of iconic. And it's also the case that marketing in publishing knows how to communicate to us a lot about what's in a book based on the cover design and image alone. And so I wanted to try something to illustrate how this works rather than picking books and talking about it. I've had one of my colleagues go out and pick books off the shelf. I do not know what books are in this pile. And they're hopefully books I haven't read, but maybe. And the goal here is going to be to explain to you based on what I see on the cover, what the book's about, so that you can see for yourself how much you can learn from a book just by cover. And you probably already know this, but I'm going to try and deconstruct what is in the cover that makes you think that way and makes you realize what's in it. I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm not going to have the benefit of being able to go back in advance and see how to pronounce names. So that may be an issue here, but we're going to see how it works. And hopefully we'll have a good list of books by the end of books that are on the shelf that one of my colleagues picked out as having really interesting covers, and that I should be able to explain roughly what they're about without a whole lot of information. So let's try this. Okay, first book. I've been really careful. I haven't been looking over here. They've been sitting over here. I have no idea what book I'm about to pick up. Okay, we've got Susan Wiggs, Welcome to Beach Town. And this is a gentle, beachy cover. There's an image of a camper and a surfboard, and pastel-y colors, and a blurb from Barbara O'Neill, who wrote This Place of Wonder. The story is rich with life and danger and ultimately hope. Fans of Colleen Hoover will gobble it up. Those things tell you a whole bunch about this book right from the beginning. So we're probably looking at a book that has some romance in it, but also some kind of drama, but something that's fairly like probably a good like airplane read or beach read, that has some appeal to people who like. Colleen Hoover tends to have a little bit more of the drama in with the romance, so we're probably going to see a little bit of that in there, but something generally pleasant and fun to read. And that's that book. Typically targeted to women. What do we have next? Okay, this one is Night Bloom by Peace Adzo Mehdi, who has also written a book called His Only Life that was a Reese's Book Club pick. This is the kind of cover that you often see these blobby color, like all of the different blobby colors, often weirdly, and it's not that I'm advocating for this as a design choice, but it is definitely part of the language of book covers, is that these blobby book covers are often related to BIPOC authors, often from countries other than the United States, not always. So I'm going to say that this is almost certainly a book that is set in another country and by someone from another country. And yes, Ghana. and probably family, and probably a little bit of humor, and kind of a lot of learning about a different world and a different culture. And that definitely fits with the blurbs I'm seeing on the back. So when you see this kind of image, and you'll know it when you see it, this often represents like African or Indian, sometimes Asian, well, India is Asia too, but something from another continent, not a non-European continent. Oh, this is the historical fiction trope with the woman facing back, with her back to the cover. Oftentimes the head is cut off or is facing back, but this is a surefire historical period costume. Codename Sapphire by Pam Jinoff. I'm gonna say, based on the costuming, ooh, this is tough. It's either World War I or World War II. And you're gonna find kind of a woman's story, 1942, World War II. And it is gonna be kind of probably a little bit, there might be some spy kind of stuff going on in this, but it's gonna be a women's story of World War II. And what country it's in is probably England. But, ooh, a woman must rescue her cousin's family from a train bound for Auschwitz in this riveting tale of bravery and resistance during World War II. So you can tell a lot just by looking at the cover. A Crown of Ivy and Glass, the Middle Mist Trilogy, Book 1 by Claire Legrand. Classic romantasy. And I have to, with this, check the spine to know whether it is adult or teen, because there is a certain amount of blurring in the genres when you're looking at rom-com covers and romantasy covers. And knowing what section it goes in helps you understand exactly how much romance and potentially how steamy the romance might be. But look to this one for kind of what like romantasy, but high fantasy. It's going to be set in a world that is not our world. And you can tell from the in pages, there's a map here, which also is a surefire signal that it is high fantasy. Again, high fantasy is set in a world other than ours. So Tolkien, Game of Thrones, all set in completely different worlds. Low fantasy, like, of course I'm drawing a blank. I mean, Neil Gaiman, American Gods, that's low fantasy. N.K. Jamison's Cities We Become, low fantasy, because it's set in our world. High fantasy, romantasy cover. People who love romantasy know they love romantasy. Romantasy is a portmanteau. I think I talked about this last month. Romantasy is a portmanteau of romance and fantasy. And you'll hear a lot of it because it's a super hot genre right now, especially in the new adult category. So new adult is that marketing segment that's not YA, which is a marketing term for the books that teens read, young adults, and typically features characters in their late teens, early 20s. That's new adults. People who are newly adults. Here we have another trend that I love. This is the Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. Janice Hallett has written a book that I've read called The Appeal, that is hilarious and fun, but this cover tells me something. This cover tells me very specifically that this is a read-alike for the Thursday Murder Club. The Thursday Murder Club, and we'll get a cover image of Thursday Murder Club up too so you can see the comparison, is a very specific, more recent subgenre of cozy mystery slash kind of cozy police procedural. And the main characters in Thursday Murder Club live in a senior living facility, and they're all besties, and every Thursday they meet in the puzzle room at their senior living facility and solve cold cases. until they start having murders that are happening near them that they can help solve themselves. And they are determined and hilarious and going through the sorts of things that people go through at that stage in their life. So there's like life things going on too. And it's been really popular. And so marketing departments at publishing houses are wanting to communicate books that are read-alikes. And so what they're giving us is covers that tend to have like this kind of beigey cover that have illustrations, but line drawing illustrations, and there tends to always be a little bit of red, and this signals Thursday Murder Club read-alike. So if you like the Thursday Murder Club, this is a book that you probably want to check out because marketing departments are pretty good at this stuff. If you haven't read Thursday Murder Club and you like kind of the cozy mystery genre, or you like police procedurals and a little bit of humor, and maybe are going through some of those senior living situations yourself, also a really great book to read. So that's your Thursday Murder Club read-alike. All right. So this is a book called Reputation by Lex Croucher. This is a little bit of a cheat because I do know this book. But Lex Croucher has written, this book came out really shortly, kind of in the wave of the Bridgerton popularity, but you can tell without me telling you that. You've got Regency costumes. It is, we have it in adult. I always thought of it as YA, but it is a historical romance tied specifically to the popularity of Bridgerton. So if you think about the things that Bridgerton is known for, which is more kind of a modern sensibility, potentially like the costuming has some sort of leaning into historical accuracy, but the music maybe doesn't. And so this will kind of fit into that category. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. I'm going to do this exclusively based on the cover. This is another one that I read a while ago, so I don't even remember what it's about really, but things to look for on this cover. Reese's Book Club. That tells you something. She tends to pick books. Another one of her book club picks was, I'm going to forget the title and we'll get the cover up in editing, but the Crawdad Sings book, that one. So this is set, so you see houseboats on this one. I know that it is set in the San Francisco Bay Area. But this is a classic thriller mystery, kind of fitting into the Gone Girl kind of Girl on a Train, all the girl books from a few years back. This is like that twisty mystery, and can vouch for this one, but I could tell from the cover that this was that type of book if I hadn't read it. We Know You Remember by Tove Asterdahl. Okay, so a couple things that I know from looking at this. Black and white, dark, also a name like Tove. So I am going to tell you that this is Norse noir without knowing anything else about it. And Norse, winner of the Swedish Crime Novel of the Year award. Norse noir. That means Norse noir, the one that most people know about that falls into Norse noir is Girl with Dragon Tattoo. But there are also other examples, but it tends to be dark, as noir implies, but also kind of good for setting reads. Like if you like reading about different places, Norse noir tends to be really good, and it can be really atmospheric. Sarah Paretsky, Overboard, a V.I. Warshawski novel. A proper hero for these times, V.I. is perfect. So these things tell you a couple, and look at all the blurbs on the back. We've got Lisa Gardner, Karen Slaughter, Harlan Coben, Tess Gerritsen. What this tells you is it's a part of a series, because you've got a V.I. Warshawski novel right there that tells you that there's a, and if you're a series person, then you might want to go back and find the first one if you read that way. Some people don't. It's totally fine. Oftentimes, these sorts of books can be read out of order. But that is, and based on the image, which is kind of structural kind of bridge, is almost certainly in an urban setting, possibly like a New York or a Chicago. Lake Michigan, so Chicago. And that is Sarah Paretsky's Overboard. One last one. Let's see what I got here. This is a paperback, and as was Reputation by Lex Croucher. And paperbacks tell you something too. Sometimes books go straight to paperback. They're slightly less expensive to produce. Authors get slightly less money for them because they get a percentage of the cover price, and the cover price is lower. Sometimes that means that it's more of an ephemeral book, that the publishers are expecting it to be that way. Romance and cozy mysteries, sometimes but not always, go straight to paperback. It could also be a paperback reissue, and I don't know that from looking at it. But what I do know from looking at this cover, which is Accidentally Engaged by Farah Heron, is that this is a rom-com. And again, this is one where I'm going to look at the spine to make sure that it is in fact adult. But of course, since we're talking about engagement, it is almost certainly going to be an adult title and not a teen title. Teens don't tend to get excited. I mean, they might think in teen romance, thinking about getting engaged is something that comes up, but actually getting engaged doesn't tend to happen in teen romance because of the age of the main characters. This is, on the back, All's Fair in Love and Baking. So we've got some cooking themes. We've got like a multi-story apartment. So we're probably looking at something of an urban setting. The blurb, or not the blurb, but the call out is the fake engagement foolproof or half baked? So we're also talking about a fake dating romance trope. But what I know from looking at this is that this sort of illustration that we're seeing here tells me that rom-com, because this is the current trend. It's an Emily Henry, designs like Emily Henry's books are like the classic of that, but this sort of illustration is typical of our rom-coms. And what they're doing also is letting us see some of the diversity on the covers. They used to not. It used to be the case that you didn't get an image on the cover. You got more of the blobby cover when you were dealing with BIPOC leads, even in romance, with the hope that everybody would read it. But that's not the way the marketing of books is working. And it's not the way people read books anymore, because people read books about people of all colors, that people who are racially similar to them, people who are racially dissimilar to them. And this is going to be a book with BIPOC leads. And you also see that it's a man and a woman, so you also know it's a man and woman romance, and sometimes that is not the case anymore. Sometimes you do see two men or two women on a cover, and sometimes you don't know if they're cis or trans until you open it up. This is going to be a Muslim couple, and I know that because it does say that on the back. And that is another fun romance that's worth checking out. And that is how I read covers. So you saw me looking at blurbs, you saw me looking at illustrations, you saw me looking at other text in the cover. And we have all sorts of online resources that allow us to get more information about books once you have identified a book that you might like. But sometimes just finding books you like based on cover commonalities is a really, really easy way to find your next great read. And that is Read This for this month. Thank you.